Hello and welcome to another episode of Insights. My name is Bill Russell. I'm a former CIO for a 16-hospital system and creator of This Week in Health IT, a channel dedicated to keeping health IT staff current and engaged. Our hope is that these episodes serve as a resource for the advancement of your career and the continued success of your team. Now on to the show.
Today on Insights, we go back to a conversation host Bill Russell had with Taylor Davis, Research Manager at KLAS. The topic of discussion was a look back at the Arch Collaborative's early surveys of EHR optimization. Epic understands that change management is critical. KLAS asks two different health systems about their experience using Epic. The survey results were polar opposite. What was the reason for this? And how can this information be used to improve the clinician's EHR experience?
It seems like you guys have done the research that we've all been waiting for and really wanted, which is what leads to success and potentially what doesn't lead to success that we're spending an awful lot of time on. So let's start with the basic question. What is the Arch Collaborative and why does it exist?
Well, Billy, you said thank you that we've dived in and worked on the research that we've all wanted. We've wanted it too. So KLAS is a research organization for a lot of years. Let me give you actually my personal experience. So I've been with KLAS for 12 years. I joined KLAS in 2007, early 2007, and watched the rise of electronic health records in 2009 through 2015, right?
Right.
So I've done thousands of interviews with healthcare leaders, with CMOs and CMIOs and CIOs, and it's common that we get on the phone with them and we say, hey, how are things going for you? And they say, well, we still are really struggling. A lot of people are really disliking our EHR, and we'd hear that about every EHR, and I'd have interviews with a passionate physician that say, well, Cerner's way better than Epic, and Athena's way better than Cerner, and Epic's way better than Athena. And I think I just broke a transitive law right there as I described that. But that's how it felt for us, right? Is we were hearing it from everyone else. And everybody was talking about, hey, it's the software. KLAS has put out ratings about the software for a long time. And there's no doubt that the software makes a difference. But we pulled together actually just two years ago. It was late November 2016, we emailed out to 10 of our friends and said, hey, what if we a couple months before that, we had done a quick poll and it asked about 100 organizations, hey, have you measured the feedback of your end users about your EHR? And only 7% had done that. And most of those percentage points were organizations that had recently come live on Epic, and Epic requires you to do a post-go live survey. So there's only like 3% of organizations that were doing this themselves out of their own choice, right? And so almost nobody was doing this. And at the same time, we're spending millions and millions of dollars on optimizations and a bunch of work. And so we said to 10 organizations, what if you all send out the same EHR satisfaction survey to all of your users? 5 of those organizations said, yeah, and they took us up on it. And we collected the feedback from those 5 organizations. And as it came back in, the feedback was so interesting. So we had 2 organizations that were using the same EHR. They were both using Epic. And the feedback was night and day difference. One was incredibly satisfied with it, and one had their physicians just screaming angry about their experience. And it was at that point that we said, okay, there's something really interesting here. 2 organizations using the same software, very different experiences. And it started out as a benchmarking effort 2 years ago, where we helped organizations kind of benchmark against each other. Today, it's a collaborative, and we're working, I'd say, with some of the premier organizations, provider organizations, not just in the country, but in the world. And this survey that has been developed and continues to evolve has now been deployed at 154 organizations at 7 countries around the world. And we're really starting to learn science of what drives success. And then what's almost more exciting than anything else is that we've got 63 this morning, ongoing members who have committed to measuring every year and or 18 months their experience. And we've now had 6 organizations that have remeasured their experiences. And 5 of those 6 organizations saw improvements in their satisfaction, and 2 of them saw huge improvements in their satisfaction. So as we do this, we're starting to really learn what drives success.
Yeah, one of the things you talked about in the presentation was this whole idea of a playbook. So one of the reasons that I think Epic has done potentially better than some other EMRs or EHR implementations out there is they have a very defined playbook. You do these things on these things. But one of the things you talked about is just having the right playbook doesn't necessarily lead to overall success. In fact, you talked about a bunch of things that didn't necessarily correlate, that were potentially myths that we had grown to believe over the years.
Yeah, that's the problem with doing things but not measuring, is that you start kind of getting into ruts, and you get those ruts deeper and deeper, and you start thinking, hey, this makes all the difference. So let me give you an example of one of those ruts. There's just an assumption that if we put at the elbow trainers with people, it's going to make a big difference for them. Or if we give them voice recognition, it's going to make a big difference. And what we've learned is that you could actually dig yourself deeper into a hole by doing that. If you don't have a great trainer that goes and engages with those clinicians, so if you're not measuring, and if you deploy voice recognition in the wrong way, or even scribes in the wrong way, it's going to end up taking you the exact opposite direction. So you're going to put a bunch of time, energy, and money into making your EHR work better or your experience better, and it's going to be worse. On the Epic side, I think that this describes that there's been a number of folks over the years who have described Judy Faulkner and her approach and that team's approach to the EHR is, sometimes people would use a term, I've heard people use the term benevolently manipulative. So they're kind of pushing us in ways to help us be successful with ourselves. And I'd give that a different term, change management. Epic understands in a lot of cases that change management is critical, and how do you incentivize human beings to make changes? And there's a whole science behind this, but Epic has done a lot of that. At the same time as we start to measure, we didn't have measurements for Epic organizations very much either. And we're starting to really learn that there's some things that make a huge difference. There's some things that don't make a huge difference. So it has been such a fun journey for us over the past 2 years.
Wow. Thanks for tuning in. Another great episode. If you have feedback for us regarding this content and materials, or if you would like to help us to amplify great thinking to propel healthcare forward, which is our mission, please send us a note at hello@thisweekhealth.com. Thanks for listening. That's all for now.